Hello, DevOps friends! Welcome to Full Stack Live. I'm Jochen, the Monospace mentor. Welcome to my live stream. I am still recovering from a very exhausting incident on Monday to Tuesday. We had a partial database outage at my hosting business, and it took us 10 hours in total to fix it and to get everything running normal again. And that was from end of work, basically. I was about to go on a run at the end of my workday when I got the alerts that the database was down. And from then on, it took us 10 hours to get it back to work. And I got to bed at about 4 a.m. the next day. So I'm still recharging and recovering from this, which is why I didn't get to do a live stream on Tuesday. And that's also probably why I had to take a nap earlier, so apologies for starting late today. But here we are, and we're going to do some live coding today, and that's actually related to the incident. But first, let me have some coffee. How long does it take this man to make a cup of coffee? Well, I have to say, I usually drink my coffee as a latte, and I make it fresh from the beans, which means I need to grind the beans, not by hand anymore. I got myself a nice sage mill, but then I'll have to make the actual coffee in an AeroPress, and then I'll also have to heat the milk to 65 degrees, so that takes a little bit. But it's a nice ritual, and as Praxeus says, we are not in a hurry. We are right on time. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is actually try out and build a command line application using Ruby. So the main cause of the incident on Monday was just your typical run-of-the-mill human error. Someone entered a delete statement not on the new to be built system, but on the running production database, simply by mistaking one window for the other and one shell for the other. So what can you do? Well, of course, there are things you can think of, like, improve the conditions. Don't do these things when you're already a little bit tired, things like that. But I guess the main thing is automation. And if you can't automate a task completely, you can at least build some tooling that can do pre-flight checks, that do sanity checks and things like that. For example, having a script that executes the delete for you, but first checks if there is a database running on the system still, and gives you a warning and says, nope, not going to do it. You have to shut down this database first. But even then, I'm not sure if it's a good idea. So things like that help tremendously to prevent human error. And that's what I'm going to explore today. I'd like to build a nice little command line application that basically helps with automating cloning a MySQL database to a new system and doing some sanity checks in between. Praxeus asked, my DBA knowledge is unpracticed. Aren't there ways to prompt a warning before delete statements, before they're executed? Since you're referring to SQL, no, there aren't. If you enter a delete statement, then the database will start deleting stuff. There is one scenario where you are a little bit safer, and that is if that delete statement runs in a transaction and it takes a long time, then you can actually kill this transaction and the database will roll back to before it started deleting stuff. But if you issue a normal delete statement, then it'll go and delete everything it can get hold of. In our case, the delete statement was an rm command on the shell. And when I got alerts from the database system, because I was on call at that time, telling me that it can't find its table spaces anymore, I knew what was up. But by then it was too late. Yeah. Why am I not going to build this as a shell script? Shell scripts are nice and easy to build, but they get unwieldy quite quickly, and that's why I always recommend building things that need logic, things that need conditions and loops and evaluation of stuff, to use a real programming language. And on the command line I can think of four languages I would use for that. If you want a compiled language, I'd probably recommend Go, even though I don't have any experience programming Go yet. I definitely would love to get into that more. And if it comes to interpreted script languages, then there's Perl, Python, and Ruby. I did consider using Perl. I did Perl programming for many years, and it helped me a lot. And Perl is actually built in part for system administration purposes. But I consider Ruby being the successor of Perl in that regard, and that's why I'm going to use Ruby. Also, of course, because it's the language that I've been practicing for 13 years now. And I don't have any experience in Python either, but I definitely think that it would be up for the task as well. So we're going to do that in Ruby. So we have all the things that we may want to have. I mean, it doesn't have to be a full TUI application where you have a pseudo-graphical environment or something like that. I think the task is much too simple for that, but if we need something, the vast library of gems at our disposal will help us get things done without having to reinvent the wheel. That's the agenda for today. As always, don't let me make this a 2 or 3 hour monologue, especially in my slightly exhausted condition. Let's make this interactive, as Praxeus is already doing, and pop into chat, ask questions, and share your comments. With that being said, I guess we're ready to go. Alright, so I need to get a little bit set up here. Am I? No, I'm not going to use my VM, or am I? Oh, I think we'll do without. I'll just get a normal terminal window spun up here. Oh, nope, I'll use the one with the bigger font. That's much better. Proxy says, must be multiple cups of coffee and screwing with Jason first? Does Jason make you more talkative? Interesting. Okay, so here's our shell. And I guess we'll go into projects, source monospace. Isn't it for us all? But that's what linters are for, I guess. And for me, it's mostly extraneous commas because Ruby allows me to end lists with commas. Actually, I have set my linter to force me to add commas even on the last line of a list, simply to be able to extend it easily without running into missing comma issues. So JSON always throws me for a loop there. What I also don't like about JSON is that you can't add comments, even though I'm well known to be comment averse. Sometimes it's really necessary, especially in data structures like you have in JSON. And in YAML, I at least have the opportunity or the possibility to add comments, which I don't have in JSON. So I really don't like that about it either. And let's do a new repository, and I'll call this the extra backup helper. And I'll have to run this in my toolbox container. Yeah, that's a way to go about this. Yeah, that's true. I can't say that I haven't used that before. Let me also get my screen in front of myself. Okay, that's nice. And now we're going to thanks to CD path, I can actually simply do cd xb helper, even though I'm not in the directory that I need to be in, but I have my main directories mapped by the cd path variable, so changing directories is really easy without having to use something like auto-jump or so that will memorize where I've been. I can simply use the directory name that I want to go into and it'll jump there. Okay, and from here I'll spawn a tmux session, which will already start with two windows for me. So I'll open the editor in one and I'll have the shell in another. And then I need to also get a browser window. And the question is, what am I going to use as my command line base gem? Because I don't want to just use plain old Ruby. I want to actually use a little bit of scaffolding given to me by a gem, and I'll have to check my notes what I'm going to use here. I found something that was very promising, so let me go to my notes quickly. command line, building command line tools in Ruby. That is very nicely named, Mr. Monospace. And from here, yes. Let's see, I think it was CRI that I was going to use. CRI requires Ruby 2.6 or newer. It's guaranteed to be supported on any officially supported Ruby version, as well as the version of Ruby that comes by default on the last 2 Ubuntu LTS releases and the last 2 major macOS releases. I think that's a very nice point, so that you can actually be reasonably sure that your command line utility is going to run if you are more or less up to date on your Linux distribution, or macOS for that matter. And since we are using Ubuntu LTS, that's actually quite nice. And as you can see, there is already a specific structure that CRI dictates and allows you to use. The central concept in CRI is the command, which has option definitions as well as code for actually executing itself. In CRI, the command line tool itself is a command as well. So I guess we are talking about nested commands, where you have your CLI application itself being a command, and then this command can have subcommands. And I imagine the end result looks a little bit like Git, so that you have subcommands which in turn then have options and stuff. And that's exactly what I need, because the extra backup process that is used for cloning a database while it's running, and still extra backup can do the backup in a consistent way, even though there are ongoing changes to the whole data set. This extra backup needs to be done in different phases and steps, and so I think my command line utility does need such a subcommand structure. Let's see, we have a name, do stuff, usage is do stuff and then options, aliases, you can also use ds and stuff. And the summary, it does stuff. Description, this command does a lot of stuff. I really mean a lot. Okay, and then there are flags, the H or help flag. Then there is a flag where you have only the long version more, and a required option. Interesting, yeah, that's nice. Oh, where you need an argument, where the argument itself is required. Okay. And for a quick implementation, you can simply use a do end block for an option, or you can then do the run do end block down here, where you can then execute stuff conditionally. Okay. To run this command, invoke the run method with your raw arguments. For example, for a root command, the command line tool itself, the command could be called like this: command.run. Each command has automatically generated help. Oh, that's also nice. General command metadata. Let's dissect the command definition and start with the first 5 lines. Okay, command line options. Forbidden, required, and optional arguments. Forbidden is something that is interesting. Option F, argument forbidden. Ah, okay, that inverts the meaning of the option, basically. Interesting. Required means that the option must be followed by an argument. Yeah, okay. And optional means that the option can be followed by an argument. Can be, but doesn't have to. Transforming option. Oh, you can use a pragma to transform an option. That's really well thought out, I think. Really looks great. The following example uses a custom object to perform transformation as well as validation. So there's a port transformer, where it basically turns the string argument into an integer, because ports are, at the end of the day, numbers. But we'll have to have a 16-bit number. Well written syntax there. That's a nice Ruby syntax. And you can then just pass an instance of the transformation class to transform. Okay. CLI supports parsing arguments as well as parsing options. So here we use command define. Okay. The command execution is a little bit confusing to me. If no parameters are specified, performs no argument parsing or validation, and number of arguments is allowed. So we define this and we do the run inside the command. To explicitly specify that a command has no parameters, use no params. So we'll simply invoke no params and then we'll do the run. Okay. Okay, let's take a closer look at the run block. The last part of the command defines the execution itself. Run do something and something. And then there's the command runner. Instead of defining a run block, it's possible to declare a class, the command runner class, that will perform the actual execution of the command. This makes it easier to break up large run blocks into manageable pieces. Well done. That's a nice design. So we have my runner inside the actual command. Okay. And we'll define my runner as the runner class. Okay, now we come to subcommands. Commands can have subcommands. For example, as I already mentioned, git. Git is always the example that people choose in this case. Git command line tool would be represented by a command that has subcommands named commit, add, and so on. Commands with subcommands do not use a run block. Execution will always be dispatched to a subcommand, or none if no subcommand is found. To add a command as a subcommand to another command, use the command add command method, like this. So I use the root command and then call add command on that. Balthazar, hello, welcome to the stack. Just to catch you up, I'm going to build a command line application that will hopefully help us prevent the return of the incident that we had on Monday. Oh, I just heard my son through the window, so I'll have to open the door. He still doesn't have a key to the house, so I'll be back in a minute. And back. Beth asked, I'm interested in learning how your app will help prevent that from happening. I've been listening for a bit now, doing more morning routine stuffs. The thing is, the incident was basically caused by executing an RM command in the perfectly wrong window. Instead of the target host where the database was supposed to be copied to, it was executed on the production database. And suddenly the database system was very confused where all its table spaces had gone. And while, yeah, the one of the mistakes we've made, and that will be part of the incident report, is that we did have a documentation, a standard operating procedure documentation that guides people step by step through the process of setting up a database copy, but we didn't automate it. We left it to the person executing the procedure to go through it step by step and executing stuff on the respectively correct machine. And what I'm going to do, and if only as an exercise, is build a command line application that not only executes these steps, but also includes sanity checks. So instead of RM, to clean up the target data storage, it's going to be XP helper RM, for example, and the command line utility will do the same deletion as the raw command would do, but before it'll check if there is a running database on the host it gets executed. And it can tell you there is still MySQL running on this machine. I'm not going to delete that stuff. And so by doing these simple things, have these simple pre-flight and sanity checks, it'll be easier to prevent errors. Of course, full automation would be ideal, but well, the reason that we didn't even do the simple automation is that this process, thankfully, isn't necessary for too often during the year, and so we didn't put in the effort of trying to automate that. I guess going for the full automation might be overkill. We'll have to consider that. I'm still undecided on that question, but we should and basically have to at least put in the effort of doing a little bit of automation in terms of checking if what the operator is going to do does make sense or not. Yes, shoot. Every feedback is welcome, and I know where it comes from in your case, and so feel free to ask questions and make suggestions. I'll definitely take them as constructive feedback. So the basis of my thought process is at least one of the reasons why we haven't automated this is that we don't do command line automation scripts often enough, especially not in Ruby. Maybe a quick bash script or something is easier to do, but doing it properly with a proper programming language is something that has still a little bit of a barrier to entry. And so by doing this command line utility, I definitely will lower this barrier to entry for myself, because I'm going to be more familiar with, for example, the CLI gem that I'm researching right now, and that'll make things easier to say, yep, I'll quickly hack a Ruby script to make this thing more secure. And so that'll be definitely beneficial, regardless if this utility will ever be used in production or not. Beth is all right. So, okay, so first things first, you seem to be a very strong Chef shop. Is there a reason why this process isn't managed by Chef instead of a CLI tool? Yeah, the reason is that this process basically gets executed on two hosts in parallel. And the steps are interleaved. You do preparation on the source host, then you need to prepare the target hosts. Once that's done, then there's the next step on the source host, and then on the target host. Then you need to transfer data from the source host to the target host. After that, the data that has arrived on the target hosts needs to be processed so it becomes consistent. And this kind of synchronization is more or less impossible to do using Chef. And that's also a reason why I'm not aiming at fully automating this process. There are tools for that. GitHub, who run MySQL at scale, as well as Booking.com, for example, have a large foundational experience in this, and there are tools that can do that, but I guess I would rather have a more simple solution that I can use next week if one of our databases happens to go down than having another project in the pipeline that will not get executed before next year. So I'll start simple with a command line tool that just goes one level above executing the raw commands on the shell. What's managing your Chef inventory again? You mean in terms of inventory, in terms of which hosts are involved in the infrastructure? That's Chef itself. Chef itself has a central server with a database, and there Chef stores all the information about all the nodes in the infrastructure. It also stores, for example, the keys these clients need to even connect to the Chef server and stuff like that. Have you looked to see if an existing tool exists? No. I haven't. I am aware that there are these more sophisticated tools. I don't recall the name of it. Give me a second. GitHub MySQL replication system. What is it called? Oh, okay. Yeah. My search query suffers from the fact that it gets interpreted as MySQL replication stuff on GitHub instead of by GitHub. It's more MySQL orchestration, I guess. Orchestration. And I think it's orchestrator. Yeah. Here we go. And the moment I said orchestration, I remember that it's orchestrator. So orchestrator is a MySQL high availability and replication management tool. And that has everything that you might need, even a web interface. And I guess that's really ideal. But still, it will require some kind of preparation. And as I said, I'm not going to say that once I've built my command line application, we'll never use Orchestrator. Orchestrator is still very attractive to us, and we'll probably use that eventually. But with today's project, I'm aiming at getting a quick improvement to our processes. something that I might actually be able to mention in our incident report, where we can say we've already built something that will prevent this particular error. If you execute this on the wrong machine, it'll simply abort the procedure, and that way this specific error can't happen anymore. And also, as I said, I need to become more versed in running or building command line tools in Ruby, because that'll make it much easier to decide, okay, this is tedious, I'll spend 10 minutes on automating this using Ruby, while now, at this point in time, I still have to spend first 10 minutes simply reading the documentation to this gem before I can even start building. And so I need to build up the knowledge and the understanding for this to become much easier and more efficient. Bethesda writes, the reason why I'm asking about Chef Inventory is that I generally classify servers in my inventory. Being able to interrogate server class allows me to prevent errant commands from running purely by ensuring the server class is what I expect it to be. That's actually also a good idea, and I'll keep that in mind. However, will a target, a new MySQL replication target, be even known to Chef at this point? Yes, it might be. It might not be. But it's definitely a good idea to maybe have this interface with Chef, simply because of the metadata and stuff that's available there. So that's a good idea, and yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Okay, so with a subcommand added, you can also define a subcommand on the fly. Root command define command instead of add command. That's adding a predefined command. We can define it on the fly with a do end block. Okay. And we can even load them from external files. That's amazing. Yeah, this is really easy to expand. Cool stuff. Yeah, I'll definitely use this CRI. Let me take another look at the canonical example here. So I'll define a CRI command with name and other attributes, flags of course, and then I'll simply do a run. And the logic will be in there. That gets ugly quite quickly. If it's not just a puts that we are going to execute here, but more sophisticated logic, if there are more arguments that need to be taken into account, this is going to become ugly and unreadable quite quickly, and that's what we want to prevent. Thank you for doing the exercise in the first place. It's really, really helpful to have a sparring partner on these things. Okay. So let's scroll to the class stuff again, because that's, I think, the key to getting better structure. Run block, that's the normal or the default way to go about things. I could define a class, a command runner class. And that's, I think, the key. Yeah, we'll define multiple classes. No, we can only define one class here. But this class can have an arbitrary number of methods. So the run method might dispatch to specific other private messages in that class. And that, I think, is the way to go about here. Good question, what the process looks like. So what extra backup does, or I think that's a good opportunity to visualize things, but I have to get a few things wired up here. Give me a second. So power goes here, that gets plugged in here, and let's grab that pencil here, and let's get the drawing board set up here. All right, so what this process looks like is you have your... oops. Is the pencil empty again? That would be a shame. Let's see. Yeah, 0%. So let's give it a minute to charge up. Thankfully, the pencil charges quite quickly. I haven't charged it up lately. Apologies for the delay. So the challenge with cloning a running system is consistency. Because while you are copying the data of your production database, there usually are there are changes happening to the database, and that makes things a little bit harder because I'm trying to find the battery overview where I can actually see the charging state of the pencil, but apparently that's not available. But I think it'll work now. Does it? Let's see. Yes, it does. Okay, cool. Now I need to find the interface. Okay. So let's go back to here. Here we are. So on our, let's use the source host here. And then there's the target host. And on the source host, there is, of course, the data directory. That's usually var/lib/mysql. If you copy this directory to the target host, there's only one scenario in which this will work, and that's if the source host doesn't have the database running. If it's offline, then you can simply take this directory, copy it over, and actually start MySQL on the target host, and it'll work. But of course, usually you don't have the possibility to stop the source host because it's still serving data, if it's your production database. And So there are two ways you can do this. And the amount of downtime necessary depends on the way you do this. So what you can do is you can do an rsync to the target host of Valid MySQL. That copy will, of course, be completely inconsistent because there were writes happening even during your rsync, and especially if you have relations between tables, you might already have copied table A where a record was added, or where a change was not yet made, and then you copy table B where a related change has already been made. So you are missing one of these two related changes, and your database will be completely unusable. And especially if you have a large data set, this will take a long time, and so the amount of inconsistency will be high. Of course, you can do another rsync. And since rsync is incremental, it'll be much quicker. It'll transfer the changes that it missed the first time, but it'll, of course, introduce new inconsistencies. And while this second and incremental rsync will be much quicker, there's no amount of rsyncs that you can do to get a consistent database. So the way you do this is that you do this 1, 2, maybe 3 times, but then you'll have to do a command on the source host that will make everything read-only. So basically you'll do a flush tables with read lock. That will basically put the database into standstill. Reads still can happen, but there will be no writes anymore. And at that time, if you take a look at the process list, you will see data manipulation statements like update, insert, delete piling up because they are blocked by this read lock. But this now gives you the opportunity to do a final rsync. And once this rsync is done, you will have a consistent database on this side. And then you can simply release this lock, and the production database will be fully available again. And you have a working database on this side. The only thing that you have to do before you release the lock is to get the replication coordinates that your target host needs to stay up to date, because of course the moment you release the lock, your production database will do stuff again, and your target host will not be in sync anymore. And in order to get the target host in sync, you need to run another command on this side, which is called show master status. And by using the coordinates that this command will give you, you can then tell the target host to follow your source host. All the changes the source host makes will then be replicated to your target host. And you'll have two machines that will be in sync and stay in sync. And at this time, it's safe to release the read lock. So what you do is basically you execute flush tables with read lock, show master status, because the moment you do the read lock, these coordinates will not change anymore. because there will not be no changes in the database. Then you do your final rsync, and as soon as that's done, you release the read lock to get your production operation back in order. And at that time, you can then go to the target host and execute a change master with the coordinates you got from the source host.
Bombers, get the subs in launch mode. We are at DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1.
A raid coming in. White Panther, Selma, how you doing? Thank you for the raid. How are you doing? Welcome, raiders.
I know this.
Hey, thanks, Van Flicky.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Backlog ready for 2024. You putting everyone else to shame.
I know this.
Thanks for the follows, folks. Let me get something in order. I just added the Twitch alerts, but actually I don't want them all. So let's get this done quickly. So we are doing, we built a command line application that will prevent my team from
It's a Unix system. I know this.
from making the same mistake that we did. Oh, sorry. No, we're good. We're good. Okay. No, I'm not confused anymore. So we are building a command line application for Linux that allows us to do a database backup and sync, and that prevents us from deleting the production database instead of the target database, which happened actually on Monday, and that caused us 10 hours of work from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. on Tuesday to get everything back working. And yeah, so I will definitely do my best to prevent that for the future. That's so kind of you folks. Thank you for all the follows. I really appreciate it. So I was just explaining the process that you can take to basically copy data over from a production database that's still running to a target host that needs to become a replication follower. And so that is a more or less manual process, and unfortunately it does require this final step where we have to lock the database for any kinds of updates to get a consistent copy to the other system. Otherwise, we can copy as much as we want. It will always be garbage by the time it arrives on the target host. So depending on how long this final rsync is going to take, we'll have some downtime on this database. And that's where the extra backup utility comes in, and it's really, really handy. So let me... let's just separate this here. So what extra backup does, and that's extra backup, what that does is it copies var lib mysql. But wait, that is the same thing as the rsync that we did above. So how is this better? Well, it not only copies varlib mysql, but it also copies the redo log information from the database that the database writes in an ongoing fashion while it's working. And this redo log has all the deltas, all the changes to the table spaces in varlib MySQL that you need to have a consistent data set. So by copying this to the target host, we get more consistent information over here. This will still take maybe an hour. It took us an hour for copying a 350 gigabyte data set. It took about 60 to 70 minutes. So this will still take a long time, but and extra backup will also do the flush tables with read lock, especially if you have the old MyISAM database format, which is something you should avoid. But if you still have these, extra backup will have to do a read lock, because for MyISAM, MySQL doesn't write redo locks. Azuka writes, hey, first time Linux here. I have a 20-year-old PC with a 400p GPU. Is it possible to install Linux with terminal instead? Don't see the buttons on desktop. That's a good question that we can discuss on the Discord. The short answer is yes, you can. I started using Linux in the early 90s when it came out, and by then we didn't have much of a graphical desktop anyway. And you can easily run Linux in a terminal that basically looks like the one that I'm using. Give me just a second. So that's basically how your screen is going to look like, where you simply have a text-based terminal, and you can work in that and use a text-based editor, such as I do. I'm using NeoVim. Praxeus, you shouldn't suggest Solaris anyway. If at all, then recommend Illumus or something like that. But yeah, if you have a GPU that doesn't really pull much weight, Linux will still work nicely. You probably won't game on that machine, but to do development and stuff, that's one of the main advantages of Linux, that you can run it on old and very old hardware, and it'll still be something that you can actually use. Flying Wookie, that's an amazing Twitch name. Thank you for the follow. Oftentimes, depending on the Linux distribution that you choose, you have even the choice of running the whole installation in text mode without even relying on graphics. So there is definitely a way to get this running on an older machine with an older graphics card. Alrighty, where was I? Let's get back to my board. And so what extra backup does is this whole copying of the data directory. Johnny the Ripper, thank you. And the redo lock information as well. It'll do a short lock and transfer the rest. So how do I put this? Do another flush tables with read lock, do a final transfer, and now we have consistent data over here. If we combine the copied files from varlib MySQL with the redo lock information, which gets stored separately, so finally we'll have to do a extra backup prepare over here, which is extra backup basically spinning up MySQL The channel that's most suited is probably going to be the Linux channel. Just pop into there, create a new post, and ask about your first-time installation. So Extra Backup Prepare will then combine valid MySQL files with the redo log information by spinning up a MySQL instance and feeding that instance with the files and redo logs. And after that, we then again have a consistent system. So the advantage of Extra Backup over doing a manual rsync is not only that it's more elegant, but also that it's much more efficient. You don't have to do multiple rsyncs or stuff like that. It's simply doing a file copy with the redo logs as well. And then it does a very short lock of the database, in our case on Monday or Tuesday morning, basically. This lock didn't even take a minute, while the attempt we did before using rsync had the database locked for about 10 minutes. And 10 minutes of downtime, if it's not just at 4 a.m. in the morning, might be something that your customers are going to complain about. Yeah, 10 minutes, because that database is under severe load, and so this database on a normal day does between 4,000 and 20,000 queries per second. What is the underlying file system of the database? We usually use XFS as our database file system. Yeah, customers start complaining after about 30 seconds. Yeah, that's definitely something that you need to take into account. That was the silver lining in this incident, that it mostly happened during the night, and most of our customers are somehow European-based, so the necessary downtimes didn't have that much of an impact. Nope, XFS doesn't offer snapshots out of the box, and you can't actually use file system snapshots for database replication either. Or can you? I'm not quite sure. Something that makes me wary is that there might be information in flight that's still not written out to disk, but necessary. But at some point you need to have a snapshot. I'm torn. I'd have to research that a little bit more. If a file system snapshot would actually help with that. Because, of course, if you can do a snapshot, and that is actually consistent data, then you can take all the time you need to copy that over. So that's actually good food for thought. I'll keep that in mind and check if that is actually something that we could use to improve our process as well. But yeah, Extra Backup is a nice solution for this. The only thing, and that is what caused the outage in the first place, is that Extra Backup requires an empty target directory. So this ... over here needs to be empty, otherwise Extra Backup will fail immediately. And we had one attempt at copying this over. And that copy didn't work because of some configuration setting that wasn't high enough. And since we had to copy more than 300 gigabytes of data, there was an overrun basically of a kind of a buffer. I'm not going to explain that in detail because I guess we'll get too deep into things there. The important thing is our first attempt at running extra backup failed, and to do a second attempt, you need to nix this side. And now you can imagine what caused the incident in the first place.
It's a Unix system. I know.
Irima, thank you for following. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Vinyl Vault? No, that's not it. The operator had the wrong window open when they did the delete. Yikes. $300 gigabytes gone in a second. Bethesda wrote, however, having a logical copy with extra backup is what I found to be the most efficient, consistent process, as extra backup will help handle many of the logical MySQL concerns that aren't solved by simply cloning a volume. Exactly. I think the main advantage of extra backup is that it actually knows about MySQL. It's connected to the database, and it has much more context than a simple file system operation, even using snapshots, would ever have. So, yeah, that's definitely something that it has going for it. Okay, so that brings us to what I'm going to do today. Is I'm going to build a simple. The data was not lost. We did have a replication system. But that replication system then started behaving flakily. We later found out that on the replication system there was actually a slight data corruption. Nothing too bad in terms of data involved or data lost, but whenever that corrupted table was accessed, MySQL crashed and restarted itself. And so we had a spare database system running, but that definitely didn't have 100% uptime. So it crashed every few minutes. At first, we didn't even know why it kept crashing. And only later we found that there was just one table that was corrupted, and that got MySQL to crash. And once we dropped that table, everything went back to normal again. But at that point, we didn't have time to both investigate why MySQL was crashing, and we needed to get another replication target going, because imagine the database didn't just crash and restart with a few seconds of downtime, but crash and go away completely. Then we would be completely fucked. And so we scrambled to get another copy of this database going. So we did actually have the time to investigate why this particular system was crashing all the time. This would have been even more stressful if that happened during the day, when a database keeps crashing every 30 seconds or so. That that would have been even more of a disaster. What I'm going to do once I actually got out of explaining, which I've been doing for 1.5 hours now, is build a simple command line tool in Ruby that basically executes all these steps that I've explained, but it does sanity checks before. I'm not going to go full hog and implement a completely fully automatic process or something that actually communicates between the two nodes and things like that. GitHub has already built something like that with their orchestrator application. But getting into that is a little bit more complex. So I'm going to start with a much lower barrier to entry, which is a simple command line application that allows me to execute these steps, still manually, still run by an operator, but with pre-flight and sanity checks in place that prevent these catastrophic errors. And the side effect that I want to get from this is that I want to be more fluent in building command line applications with Ruby, because that will allow us to build these things more quickly, more easily, instead of having to tell myself, oh, that'll take another hour to do it properly, so I'll hack a quick bash script or something like that. I want to be in the position to say, yep, let's spend 20 minutes and build this. But that means I need to be more familiar with the tools that I have at my disposal, with, for example, gems like the CRI gem that I'm researching here, and that will definitely be beneficial far beyond the actual use case that we have here today. Ghostbrains suck maintaining like 7 orchestrators at the moment, thankfully just for several APIs. Oh dear. And I didn't mention what Balthazar shared. Our practice were built against 8 terabyte working set databases. Wow, that's not small. So we were definitely looking for speed and efficiency gains where we could. Yeah, definitely. In that case, there's a lot of you need to optimize, starting from the underlying network. Simply the transfer time of 8 terabytes of data will be immense, and yeah. So wherever you can shave off a little bit of time, that's going to be a good thing. All right, so I guess we'll simply go ahead and get something going here. So at this point, oh wait. What's this called? CRI command? Or is it just CRI? Yes, it's just CRI. Okay. So, can I just do this? Okay. Source rubygems.org. Okay. In locally installed gems? Oh, okay. Since I didn't give it. Oh, all right. Okay. So let's do that. We'll do a source. https rubygems.org. Oh, I'm missing a quote. And now I should be able to do bundle add CRI. Okay, and it's just this single dependency, which is always nice. Another thing that I mentioned earlier with this CRI gem is that it actually gets maintained to support the latest two versions of both macOS and Ubuntu LTS. So if you are using, if you're keeping up your operating system up to date, the CLI gem will actually work with your system Ruby. And you don't have to actually install a specific Ruby version for that, which is always more convenient. Okay, maybe I should actually do a split screen here. Let's simply try the example command here, just to see how things work out. Nope. Let's save this first, so I get the syntax highlighting that I need. We'll call that xbhelper.rb. That's better. Let's not copy that wholesale. There is a specific coding style that I've been getting used to and that we have actually codified in our linter. And part of that is, for example, using double quotes for everything. So we'll call this XB helper. Usage is XB helper command options. Summary, execute, extra backup steps. And we'll have to use subcommands here. That is something that I'm going to add later. And so we'll simply call run with a code block here, to which I actually have redefined the keyboard layout of my split keyboard, and that's why I still have quite a few mistypes because of the muscle memory that's fighting against the new layout. But no better way to get used to things than by jumping right in. So we'll pass in the options, the arguments, and the actual command. Interestingly enough, it doesn't actually indent correctly here. Oh yes, no, it should actually. Oh, interesting. Well, let's do an end here and an end here. Yes, of course. But if I run this with bundle exec. Ooh, okay. Ah, yes, of course, we need to at least require that. Yes. Copilot, but please let's make it double quotes. What's the problem? Yard? What are you on about? Yes, frozen literal. So frozen string literal. Let's use this one down here. Do we have an example script in here? Samples. Okay, sample simple. No idea why Rubocop says that requires CLI is a problem, because that's exactly what we need. And at a later time, it might actually make sense to add the lib directory if we have actual files, if we implement subcommands in external files. I'm not sure if that's going to be necessary. So there they have lots of options and stuff. And yes, of course, in the end, it's not just about defining a command, but also nice, Copilot has this already in there. That's amazing. Wait. If I... No, my escape key does look differently. Yeah, that's one of the things. If you redefine where escape is, and you are working in Vim, then you're throwing yourself for a loop. Now, does this work better? Yes, it does. Oh, that looks really, really nice. It even has colored output. I love that. Out of the box. Brilliant. All right, so we're off to a good start. Now, I guess we could simply say, options, arguments, and command. Okay, we have no arguments, no commands. If I run XP helper with test, let's see, commands, it doesn't actually pick up the command. There's an argument test though, okay. Yeah, I guess at this point, if I don't have any declarations, it'll interpret test as an argument instead of a subcommand. Okay. Let's maybe take a look at a nested definition. So, what are they doing here? We have a super command. And that's the main thing, I guess. CLI command define with options A, B, C, D, A, B, and D, and C is optional, and E, okay. And then we'll define another subcommand here, which has its own run block. And that's actually doing the heavy lifting here. And then we have to do a super command, add command with that definition. No, it does actually the new basic help. No idea what that method is. that might actually be a more extensive help system or something, and then we'll do another run. Okay. So what we need is a define command here. That actually doesn't have a, yeah, that has a run block. So we'll do a, let's do this differently. We'll call this XP helper. And then we can do XP helper command. No. Interesting. Is there a different syntax that Copilot is picking up here? XP helper define command. Yeah, let's do. We'll need a name. So let's take the interesting part first. That is going to be are we going to nuke dash target? I guess, yeah, nuke target summary. Delete all files in the target directory. Thank you. And then we'll have a run block. I'll move that from above, and then we can end this. So we can actually put this here. Let's also try what new basic help does. It's actually also not very helpful that where I had the escape key before, there's now the backspace key. So every time I try to press escape, I'm actually deleting stuff because I'm still in insert mode. So yeah, I could make things a little bit easier for myself. Oh dear. Ghostbrain wrote, I really should make a tool like this for remote management and integrating all of the other tools I use. Yeah, basically make this your Swiss Army knife. As you can see, especially now that I'm only getting acquainted with this framework, let's call it that. This is far too much friction to build something like that quickly and on the fly, and that's where I want to get. So even if we are not going to use this in production, if we choose to do Orchestrator from the get-go or something like that, that's definitely a skill I want to have at the ready. So, okay, let's test this. What happens if I do the nuke target? Mauve Felis, welcome to the stack. Thank you for following. So wait, is that like a slightly brown cat? I guess I meet the stereotype that men can't actually deal with these kinds of color descriptions. Nuke target. Ooh, that breaks. Why does it break? That's a syntax error on my side, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. We have this. We have this. Did I happen to delete something that I shouldn't have? Nope, that does actually look quite nice. I guess it's new basic help that doesn't work, so maybe that's not a built-in. I would assume... Let's see. There's no file like this here. But how about lib? No. I have no idea where this actually comes from then. But it's not there. That's for sure. But that's not important. We can actually just use help. Help didn't work. What was it? But let's see. We have super command. Yeah, that this output isn't really helpful. Oh, purple was my first thought actually. But then I thought, isn't that something of a more brownish hue or something like in the region of between beige and orange? But I guess I'm confusing that with peach. So here we have subcommand commands. Still has a set that is empty. No idea. Praxeus has a point there. Why didn't help work? Wasn't it help in the simple example? Yes, okay. No help here. Probably because I haven't added a usage thingy. So let's add that. Usage. Yeah, why not? Let's use this. Oh, the help is above there. I just didn't notice. Maybe I should crane my neck a little bit more. Execute extra backup steps. Nuke target. Delete all files in the target directory. Yeah, okay. That's the commands, but all right. So if I do a nuke target -- help, there's no option for that, so I would have to define that. Okay. Let me see if there's something that I'm missing here. Options and stuff, of course. But let's get a little bit more acquainted with the CLI gem first. So that is the most basic thing, I guess. No. There's new basic root modify. I think these are built-ins after all. And since our tool is not going to do anything in the root command, well, yeah, I guess I have no idea what the difference is between what we have and this new basic root modify, because otherwise this is actually pretty much the same. We only have these few basic attributes here. So, I guess, let's try and see what happens if I do that. Wait, name XP helper, usage XP helper command. Commands are help and nuke target. Interesting, where does help come from? Name. And then we have usage, XP helper, nuke target options. Options for XP helper, help. Okay. It first does the usage information for the root command with the subcommands, and then it has the help for the actual subcommand. And now it actually responds to help, apparently, which is interesting. But it doesn't run it. Only if I... Interesting. But why is that? Okay, help is actually a built-in, I would assume. Not sure if this is a little bit too extensive for my taste. We'll see. Okay. So, what we need to do here is basically do pre-flight checks and stuff. And I think I'd like to model this as a good example. There doesn't seem to be an example that actually uses the command class. That can be even put into an external file, so we'll have to go down here to see how this is done. Let's do some proper software engineering practices here. Subcommands. Loading commands from separate files. We could use the load file thing. I'm not going to split this up just yet. But there's also the option of using add command and then simply load stuff. Okay. And in the end, I actually have to add a command or use define command with a block. Okay, I actually want to use add command. Commands with subcommands do not use a run block. Execution will always be dispatched to a subcommand or none if no subcommand is found. Okay. So what I'd like to do is use this here with the CRI command runner. That's just the runner. Okay. Wasn't there? Another option? So I guess the first step to do this is to define this subcommand. Oh wait, yeah, okay. So instead of using XP helper define command, I would make this a CRI command class, like above, just with define. So something like this. And then we'll do XB helper add command. This should have the same effect as before. And if I don't call help, yeah. So maybe I'll add this. Just to make things a little bit easier to read. Oh, it's not much easier because of all that stuff here. Okay. Fragberg! My cycling friend, welcome to the stack. How are you doing? That's my parents-in-law. Sorry, but not now. Okay. Wait, what? What happened? Please tell me that it's because your bike broke. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that'll be 3 weeks at least. That stuff takes ages to heal. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But as you know, I haven't been exercising lately either. Last week I had was down with a cold. This week I had all kinds of stuff, part of which is what's keeping me busy today. At least it's minor, okay. Still, 3 weeks. Oh dear, that'll take you past Christmas, I guess. You'll have a few kilometers to go to get rid of that turkey, I think. But as I read earlier, it's not going to be turkey either, is it? I think I read your posts earlier on Discord that extolling the virtues of your smoker, right? Okay, I think this output doesn't really help us in any way, so let's simply do a puts in nuke target. Thank you. Why do I keep thanking Copilot? It's because I'm really impressed by it, actually. No, never. No, you... How dare I? So why does it still display help? That's because I actually ask it to display help, right? So I guess that's the... Here we add all the commands, and then in the end we'll run stuff, and it should actually dispatch stuff for us. Let's find out what's wrong here. Unused block argument. Oh, yeah, okay. So as long as we don't use that, let's make them expendable. In nuke target. That's all I need to know at this time. Okay. Oh, stop talking about dinner. I'm already getting hungry again. Wait. Oh yeah, I had a little bit of bread for lunch. Maybe it was too little. That should be indented here. Okay, let's add another command here, just to see how this works out, how the whole dispatching works. I'm about to redefine my keyboard, or maybe simply plug in a different one. This is driving me nuts. So we'll need another command. Let's say run backup. Run backup with some transfer data to the target host. Oh, and Balthazar asked earlier how the whole transfer actually works. So the way we do it usually is simply create a temporary NFS share where we have file system access to the target host and then have extra backup right into that NFS share. And that NFS share usually simply is the varlib MySQL directory of the target host. So that's that, and we'll have to add another command here for run backup. So if I do nuke target, that's that. If I do run backup, it'll output the same thing because I forget to change that. Run backup. Okay, nice. So that's really easy. Okay. Does it hold up to my expectations in terms of separation of concerns and things like that? Well, yeah, kinda. So the next step is not only to have different instances of commands here. I would actually like to use the yeah, Fragberg, I guess we share this Dr. Banner truth. That's my secret cap. I'm always hungry. Where's the class thingy? Command runner, that's what I meant. So instead of defining that all in here, we'll do a class nuke target runner. And that's a command runner, yes. And oof, that was quick. Okay, I'll take it. And it already has put in everything we need. Berthas writes, rsync is great, but I dislike the use of SSH as a data channel for high volume transfers because the speed loss is very painful. Yes, it is. That's something that we actually noticed. Part of why it took us 10 hours to get everything back in place was that we had to make a lot of attempts of doing the actual data transfer. And when we first tried extra backup to replicate the spare machine, the standby node that was left at that time, extra backup actually didn't work because while we were running extra backup, the database crashed. And that's when extra backup lost its connection to the database that it needs for some reason. So extra backup ran and ran and ran, and in the end it wanted to, I don't know, check some internal state or something, and then the connection was long lost, and so extra backup failed in the end, and we didn't get a consistent copy over. And that's when we decided to use rsync and do the more painful way that ends with a quite long locked phase. I think we did that not using the NFS share, but using SSH. And we quickly noticed that this takes a lot longer for transferring 300 gigabytes. So I think the NFS approach is definitely the more efficient way to do things. So, what kind of complaints do we have here? Do not define constants this way within a block. Agreed. I didn't like that either when I saw it first. So, is it possible to do it this way? Should be, right? So I define a simple class here that does all the stuff, has a few private methods that do the actual heavy lifting, and then we just wire it up here using the runner attribute. Are we sure this works? We are. Oh, no, we need to use the nuke target, but yep, we'll do the same with does work. Okay, that's nicer actually, and I guess the next step would be to move this up here, and a possible next step would be to actually extract these classes into their own files. But for the time being, let's leave it like this. And in this case, we could now do some kind of a pre-flight check and abort if this doesn't seem sensible. Both of the rights are now set up when I had the big old MySQL cluster we pipe over NC instead of rsync. Doing that increased our transfer rates by about 10 to 20 times. We did use, went back in the time, before we started using extra backup, we did actually use rsync with NC, with netcat. And then we did rsync with NFS. I don't think we ever tried running extra backup and pipe that over raw TCP using netcat. And that's something we should try as well, because of course that's the most performant way. It's also not very secure, but neither is NFS. Oh, you used netcat with NDP, with UDP. Yeah, forget your axe, but also forget error retries. I don't think UDP would be something that I'd use, because that will quickly get you holes in your database. And the crashing that we experienced, I guess. If you can rely on your network in that way, maybe, but since we are using the network provided to us by the data center, I don't think I'll rely on UDP. At that point, I'd sacrifice safety for performance, for speed, and I think in that context, that's definitely the wrong trade-off. Chunk hashes pre-restore. Okay, calculate chunk hashes pre-restore. Okay. Fair. So, what we could do here is start doing proper Ruby programming and say we have a private method. We'll call that let's call it safety check. And in run we do say abort unless safety check. Let's do pretty Ruby and use the predicate way of things here. Of course, we don't need return. Yes. And of course, I'll have to define the abort method. Let's do that up here. Almost. I guess we should have a little bit more context if we exit like this. So unless safety check. Yeah. What's with the indentation though? Huh? Use a guard clause? Return if safety check? But... Exegete, welcome to the stack! Good to have you! I'm exploring how to build command line applications in Ruby the proper way. Yeah, return is one thing, but I guess the safety check should probably make the output. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, I see. So maybe something like yeah, Thor would be an alternative, and yeah, it's used a lot of time in the Ruby and Rails ecosystem. But I've chosen CLI, which is a really nice gem that has a nice syntax and is very well thought out. It's well worth a try, and so that's what I'm using at the moment. But Thor has a quite similar approach to things, I have to say. If, in this case, I'll simply say if false, just to have something in here. And in that case, we'll return false. Okay, not too fond of the syntax here. Maybe we can improve that a little bit more, but so like this. This is actually more readable. Yeah, thank you, Rubicop. So we need the nuke target thingy. Okay, that is that. And if so is there a way to fail stuff here? I mean, that's a common situation or scenario. So is there a way to fail this application cleanly? Okay, so there's an actual raise in here. That's also possible. They'll raise an argument error here in this case, because the port is not a string, I guess. Okay. But here they simply raise without a standard exception. Okay. We can raise with an error message, of course. So in this case, yeah, we can actually. This is about okay. Empty internal code close. Happy to do so, but still, yeah, okay. Let's make this a little bit more. Where's my equal sign? Here. Precondition true if precondition. And then we can actually do the raise if. Precondition. Okay. No style issues anymore, but now it doesn't work. What's the problem? Oh, it's the raise that causes the stack trace. Okay. Do I want to have exception handling in here? So I can actually catch these exceptions and do some kind of output without throwing a stack trace? Or do I simply use the abort? I guess that's more clean. Right. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. In this case, safety check failed. Oh, wait. Yep. Okay, this works nicely. Now it's about implementing all that stuff. Another thing that we definitely need here is executing shell commands and parsing their output, maybe even their error output. And for that, I think I could use another gem, and I researched those, so I guess the only thing that we would need here is the Open3 the Open3 gem, which is already built into Ruby. Open3 gives you access to standard in, standard out, and standard error when running other programs. So I guess we'll add Open3. So is this part of Ruby or not? I think it is. So I don't need the Open3 gem, do I? just require that, right? I mean, it's even part of Ruby 2.4 here. Yeah, I think we're good.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Peter Angelo, welcome to the stack. Thank you for following. Tell us what brought you here. Okay, so let's find out by simply doing a require open 3. How did it anticipate that? Sometimes I'm really concerned that Copilot is actually listening in. Okay, so what we'll need is another helper method. Dev, how do we call that? Execute? I guess. Wow. Okay. So, if I then do a execute, I won't see the standard out, except if I then come on, where's the equal sign? That's on my ring finger, okay. Nice. What does this actually do? Command failed unless status success. And then it doesn't abort. I'm not really sure if I want to abort every time there's an error. Actually, asked, what's the CLI app doing? So, basically, the pilot errors, like like it happened on Monday, are basically if you have to execute raw shell commands, and the whole process relies on you doing the right thing at the right time in the right place. And yeah, that works if you have the best of all conditions. If you're not tired, if you're not distracted by your dog throwing up on the carpet, if you are actually well organized in terms of which windows you have open and all these things. And what this command is supposed to do is bring a little bit more reality into your operational life by actually doing pre-flight checks for these things. So instead of executing the raw commands, you'll use this utility to execute them, and the utility itself can then lend a hand and do pre-flight checks and stuff like that. So for example, you will still do the rm-rf, but the utility can maybe check the host name. So maybe I'll have people and enter the host name of the target system as an argument. And then the script can compare this argument with the actual host name and tell you that's nice and good, but you're on the wrong machine. Or without the host name, the script could simply check if there is still a running MySQL process and tell you, are you sure you want to nuke that? Because that seems to be an operational database. Exactly, checking for prod and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go full hog and say we need something like GitHub operator, orchestrator, or something like that. Or we'll change our infrastructure completely over to Docker-based MySQL instances that automatically run the data transfer in Docker sidecar containers and things like that. That's all nice and all, but I'd like to have something that I can build within a few hours and have available next week if there is another issue where we need to create a new follower database. We can all do the more ideal things later. For now, I simply want to reduce the level of the human factor in these things. And I think I can easily do that by taking this approach. Okay. I think I'll have to take a short break and stretch a little bit because, yeah, I feel a little bit tense at the moment. So I'll be back in a minute and I'll run an ad in the meantime. Oh, yes. I think that's a new effect, that my OBS isn't crashing, but it's actually a little bit jerky. I can see it in the face tracker as well. But there aren't any dropped frames. Either the break screen or it somehow powered down or something. Strange. Okay, but good. It's fine if you're back again. The cat was not. Welcome to the stack. Good to have you. And yeah, if there's anything that you notice on your side, please let me know, because that's really helpful. So, now, I think we have the whole scaffolding in place now. That I can use to flesh things out. Maybe we'll just go ahead and document a little bit how this is going to look like. No, I'm not going to do a Robocop thingy. We'll write out the phases. So what I'm going to do, so what do we have to do? We'll have to set up NFS on the target host. Are we going to use NC? I guess we should use NC. And since I have this utility now, that'll make things easier, because you don't have to remember all the port options and stuff like that. No exegete. I'm working on my actual workstation here, on the same workstation on which OBS is running to. I decided to just open a terminal from on my workstation. Otherwise, I'd probably run a VM, but that'll run on my workstation as well. I haven't set up a streaming VM on my Proxmox Home Lab server yet, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do so. Sorry. Running dry here. I see. No, I mean, there's an option of using a VM running on my Proxmox host. On the other hand, I have a Ryzen 9 workstation here with a UJAS NVIDIA graphics card, so I guess I have to do something with these 32 threads that I have at my disposal. So I don't think I'll relocate my streaming work to the Home Lab server. Maybe if I want to try this in a real-life scenario, I'll spin up 2 MySQL hosts on the Home Lab server and then actually execute this on the Home Lab servers, on the Home Lab VMs. We'll see. So we are not doing NFS. So instead, we'll use NC. Can we do that? Yeah, I think we can do that. This command should actually be able to also do redirects. In that case, we actually have to nuke the target directory on the target host. Sorry. Then we'll run the backup. Pipe to NC. For that to work, we'll have to set up NC on the target host to listen on a specific port, and that's where the whole option features of CRI will come in handy, so we can actually define a standard port, a default port on which NC is going to listen on, but if we want to change that, we'll have options to do so. On the other side, run the backup on the source host, and we'll pipe extra backup to standard out. We'll have extra backup write to standard out and pipe that into NC, and that way we'll transfer that over. And then we'll have to prepare the backup on the target host. When database or data preparation has finished, we can actually start MySQL. So we'll do that. Start MySQL on the target host. We'll Xenov, welcome to the stack. Thanks for dropping in. And thanks for the follow. Once MySQL has started, we can actually read the replication coordinates that Extra Backup kindly has prepared for us. We can read that file and actually set up or enable replication on the target host. And there's not going to be any copying and pasting anymore and building up your own change master statement and stuff like that. That's amazing. Now, Copilot recommends waiting for replication to catch up, but I think at that point we're more or less done. No, if we have a master replication, so replication goes actually in both directions, so we can actually switch between these two machines rather seamlessly, then we should actually get replication position from the target host. Position was correct. Why didn't it? Nope, that's not it. In that case, we'll just enable replication on the source host. And we'll have to pass in the replication coordinates from the target host, while Extra Backup has transferred by that point the replication coordinates from the source host to the target host. It's part of the backup data that Extra Backup transfers. We'll have to manually copy over the replication binlog file and binlog position to the source host, back to the source host. At that point, I think we are pretty much done. We don't have to wait for replication to catch up. I could consider watching the replication status. Why not? Why not have a command that actually displays replication status, maybe until the replication has caught up completely, and then it automatically ends the subcommand. So, yeah. That's fair. So I guess we'll add that here. Show replication status until it catches up. Exactly. That's also a useful subcommand then. So we have the nuke target runner. Wait. Okay. So, after the nuke target runner, we'll need a setup netcat runner. And we'll call it netcat listener runner. And we call it setup NC listener. Then we'll need the run backup runner. Yeah, we already have that. Then the prepare backup runner. Show replication status runner. That will work on both machines. Get replication position. Yep, that works on both machines too. Enable replication on source. We'll call that something different. What we need to have is a subcommand that allows us to basically add a replication position. So the enable replication target.
I know this.
Coco Pistolero, what a great name. Welcome to the stack. Thanks for the follow. Folks, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Or if you have any comments. Let's make this show interactive. Just a second.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Oh, Proxeus redeemed RTFM. I think that's the first time someone did actually redeem that. So I need to have a little bit of setup here. What a great idea. And Bram, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. So, okay. So, Proxeus, since you redeemed that, do you have any request for a specific man page? I leave it to you which man page. RFCs? Yeah, RFC is fine too. Hey Bram, yeah, feel free to ask. RFC 2549. Okay. Let me see what that is. RFC 2449? No, 20. What was it? 2549. IP over avian carriers with quality of service. All right. We can actually do that. Request for comments 2549. IP over avian carriers with quality of service. Status of this memo. This memo defines an experimental protocol for the Internet community. It does not specify an Internet standard of any kind. Discussions and suggestions for improvement are requested. Distribution of this memo is unlimited. Overview and rationale. The following quality of service levels are available: Concord, First, Business, and Coach. Concord class offers expedited data delivery. One major benefit to using avian carriers is that this is the only networking technology that earns frequent flyer miles, plus the Concord and First classes of service earn 50% bonus miles per packet. Ostriches are an alternate carrier that have much greater bulk transfer capability, but provide slower delivery and require the use of bridges between domains. The service level is indicated on a per-carrier basis by barcode markings on the wing. One implementation strategy is for a barcode reader to scan each carrier as it enters the router and then enqueue it in the proper queue, gated to prevent exit until the proper time. The carriers may sleep while enqueued. For secure networks, carriers may have classes Prime or Choice. Prime carriers are self-keying when using public key encryption. Some distributors have been known to falsely classify Choice carriers as Prime. Packets may be marked for deletion using red paint while enqueued. Weighted fair queuing, WFQ, may be implemented using scales as shown in the figure. Carriers in the queue too long may leave log entries as shown on the scale. The following is a plot of traffic shaping from cooperative host sites. Avian carriers normally bypass bridges and tunnels, but will seek out wormhole tunnels. When carrying web traffic, the carriers may digest the spiders, leaving behind a more compact representation. The carriers may be confused by mirrors. Round-robin queuing is not recommended. Robins make for well-tuned networks, but do not support the necessary auto-homing feature. A Birds of a Feather session was held at the last IETF, but only avian carriers were allowed entry, so we don't know the results other than we're sure they think MPLS is great. Our attempts at attaching labels to the carriers have been met with resistance. Thank you for that redeem, Praxeus. That was the beginning of the RFC 2549 document to introduce the way of transferring internet packets over avian carriers, i.e. planes and other non-flightless birds. And now there's also a recording Praxeus, so let's get back to Bram's more serious question. Long story short, I want to get into back-end engineering, didn't enjoy working with UIs and design, like APIs, databases, DevOps, security, etc. The only thing I'm scared of is, will I be able to find an entry job in back-end engineering, or is it better to start basic like web development and full stack and later to dive deep into back-end engineering later? Let's see what Exegete answered. I'm sure you can find a job doing back-end only work, but the job market is difficult for entry-level rocks. It may be in your best interest to get your foot in the door with less focused work, then transition to back-end from there, but it's doable. Yeah, I agree. Oh, folks. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. I agree with Exegete. I think you can, of course, specialize in pure backend engineering, but I think in that case, being T-shaped, as it's usually described, is the better option. T-shaped means that you have basically a broad knowledge of very different, of a whole spectrum of topics, like, for example, web technology. So you have dabbled in front-end stuff, you have done some some back-end stuff, maybe you did a little bit of SQL to talk to a database and things like that. But it's very broad and shallow. And the T-shaped comes from one specific area where you actually go deep and have extensive knowledge about. And that way you can actually get you basically broaden the you're broadening your options basically, because since you have some shallow broad knowledge, you can apply anywhere. I'm a little bit exaggerating just to prove to make a point. You can apply anywhere, and even if that particular place where you apply doesn't actually need you to go deep on that specific topic, you've already proven that you can go deep, that you have the ability to go deep on a specific topic. So you can actually make an argument that where you can tell people, okay, you need me to go deep on a different topic that's specific to your area of business or something like that. And you can make a valid argument that you'll be able to do so because you've already proven that you did it with another topic. And that way, I think you'll have better chances to get your foot in the door and to get a job where you can actually extend your knowledge on different topics and maybe actually get a new specialization there as well. That's the approach that I would recommend. At a later time, if you have 1, 2, 3 specialist topics, specializations, basically, then you can apply for targeted jobs in that area where you actually can say go in as a senior backend engineer, as not as a database administrator. That would require even more specialization, but you know what I mean. You can actually apply to a specific job where some specific skill is required and you have the skill. Because the thing is, even if you limit your focus to only backend, there are still myriad of topics there, and it's hard to anticipate what's really needed at a specific place at a specific time, and that way specialization is a bit of a bet. That's hard to win in this at this time in this kind of a market at the moment, and so hedging your bets basically by having a broad spectrum of topics that you can cover to some extent, and have one topic where you have already proven that you can actually specialize and aren't a jack of all trades and master of none. I think that's a good strategy. All right, folks, it's 5 o'clock here in Ireland. So I think I'm going to wrap things up for today. This was a lot of fun, and I'm happy to be back online. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Irish time, which is 2 p.m. UTC. We can meet again tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to do the Monospace office hour, which is a full hour where I only answer questions. So I actually depend on people dropping in and asking questions because I'm not going to prepare anything. And as Exegete says, make use of our Discord. It's a very friendly community, and you can drop your questions there as well. And I'll pick them up for tomorrow's stream. So if you want to leave a question there, I might actually answer it on Discord, but I'll also pick them up for tomorrow's stream. Thank you for the follow. The cat was not. Happy to have you. I think that's about it. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock UTC, 2 p.m. UTC. Let's meet in our Discord as well. I guess that's it. This was a lot of fun. I actually managed to do 3 hours, even though I was a little bit tired. And I started a little bit late because I took a nap that went longer than I wanted to. But this was a lot of fun, and we even did our first live reading of an RFC, which I'm eager to repeat at a later time. So thank you, Praxeus, for that as well. Yes, I do feel better. Thank you, Exegete. Took quite a while to recover from that incident on Monday. I ended up doing about a 20-hour workday because the incident happened right when I was about to go running, which would have been an even greater disaster if I would have been in the middle of our park and having to run back to aid my team getting the database service back online. So I was happy that I hadn't actually left for running. So that was about 4 p.m. and it took us until 4 a.m. the next morning to get everything back and running. So yeah, that jog would have turned into a sprint, but it wouldn't have helped with getting started with incident management. I was actually, I'll be honest, I was quite shocked. I knew that my colleague was working on this replication rebuild, and I was on call for another half hour, so it was just about before the cut over time, where someone else would then have taken over the night shift. And I got an alert, and I saw that MySQL didn't find its tablespace files anymore. I could read that right from the alert, and I immediately knew what had happened. And then I went into our chat, and there was a message, "Help, I fucked up." And I think it took me half an hour to recover from shock and to actually get going in, okay, what are we going to do? Who's doing what? Do we have a status page set up and all that stuff? So if that had happened to me while I was jogging through the dark in the park, and as you can see at this time of day, it's now 5 o'clock. It's actually pitch dark outside here in Ireland. And I had to sprint home alone with my thoughts. I'm not sure if that would have been better. I don't think so. But thankfully, it's all over. We have actually now more reliable database infrastructure than we had before. We were able to set up a completely new host on new, more powerful hardware and stuff like that. And we've learned a lot of things. And our customers really took it in strides. I have to give it to them. We didn't get any complaint from our customers. The only feedback we got was positive feedback and actual concern for us to actually recharge after the whole ordeal. So yeah, I'm really happy how things turned out. There has been a silver lining to this issue. Okay, folks, thank you all. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll see each other, or at least you will see me, and we'll talk again tomorrow at the Monospace office hour. I've also scheduled that on the Discord, so we can talk there as well, and you can check out the events there. And until next time, take care.